Hey guys, what's up? It's Dreadscape Game, and here and today on the channel we're going to be jumping back into Diablo IV with more of our starter build series, this being the final installment in the starter build series. So we're going to be talking about the Barbarian, and I'm just going to be honest with you, right out of the gates, the Barbarian is probably one of the worst characters in Diablo 4. It used to be probably not so much pre-launch, but I would say at least second update that happened was really good, and then people were kind of speedering through the content, and Blizzard hit it with a ton of nerfs. So I'm going to go over the build. It's a Whirlwind Barbarian build. Whirlwind Barbarian is probably one of the most popular and iconic builds that you could use for the Barbarian ever since Diablo II, as well as Diablo III. Unfortunately, Barbarians are in a very rough shape. So let's get into the skills first off in the skill tree as to what you're going to need just to be able to kind of get this to work. Keep in mind I say kind of get it to work. Okay, so for the basic skills, you want 1 point into Lunging Strike. And then from there, you want Enhanced Lunging Strike. And then from there, you want Combat Lunging Strike. Moving forward to your core skills, we're going to be putting 5 points into Whirlwind. We want Enhanced Whirlwind, and then from there, we want Furious Whirlwind. Anything else from here, we're not going to take just yet. I'll talk about that in a little bit later. For our defensive skills, we are going to take 1 point into Rallying Cry. We're going to have Enhanced Rallying Cry, as well as Tactical Rallying Cry. Also, over here, you're going to notice that we are not using Iron Skin, but we are going to want 1 point into Challenging Shout. From there, you're going to want Enhanced Challenging Shout. And then from there, you want Tactical Challenging Shout. Moving further down, we're going to want 1 point into Warcry. From here, we want Enhanced Warcry. From here, we want Mighty Warcry. Okay, we're going to move down a little bit further. So for our weaponry skills, we're not really going to be taking too much here. We're going to be taking Pit Fighter, 3 out of 3. We want 1 point into Slaying Strike, 1 point into Exposed Vulnerability. We're also going to want 1 point into Hamstring, as well as 3 points into Cut to the Bone. Moving down further here, into our ultimate skills, what we're going to grab is we're going to get Wrath of the Berserker. We're going to get Prime Wrath of the Berserker, as well as Supreme Wrath of the Berserker. As you'll also notice over here, we have 3 points into Heavy-Handed, 2 points into Brute Force. For our key passives, we're going to be taking Gushing Wounds, going all the way back up because we did skip a couple of skills that I wanted to talk about individually. We're going to want 3 points into Pressure Point. Here, this is just because of my gear, so pay no attention to that. But we do want 3 points of Endless Fury as well. Moving further down over here, we are going to only take, as you see here, these 2 skills. Nothing else is really anything outside of weapon bonuses that we get. Over here on this skill tree, you're going to notice that you want 3 points into Booming Voice. Moving on over here, again, we're going to want 3 points of Aggressive Resistance, 3 points of Prolific Fury, 1 point into Batter Fever. Moving on down here again, 1 point into Hamstring, 3 points into Cut the Bone. Over here, 3 points into Pit Fighter, 1 point into Slaying Strike, 1 point into Exposed Vulnerability. As you see, no points into No Mercy. Over here, as you're going to see, 3 points again into Heavy-Handed, 2 points into Brute Force. As you get more of your Renown, you can put points wherever you see fit, but this is just going to help you going mostly into the beginning of World Tier 3, and then you're going to have to grind for some endgame gear if you want to climb higher into, you know, World Tier 4. As for the Paragon, I'm not going to cover it in this video because I will eventually put out a endgame Barbarian build. So let's talk about the gear. In the beginning for Whirlwind Barbarian, it's all about the aspects more than it is about trying to get uniques to drop. There's a lot of uniques you're going to need to take an endgame build, and they take a while to drop. I've been experimenting with this build for quite a while. So we're going to be using the best in slots that we have. First and foremost, wherever you can, I got it on my helm, I would recommend that you have the aspect of Disobedience. This basically says you gain 0.30% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 18%. This is important because the Barbarian in particular is a melee combat type class, and it does not handle very well in World Tier 3 in up close and personal situations. So this kind of helps you mitigate some of the problems. Then from there, I have, for my air aspect, the Archon of Might. This basically says basic skills grant 20% damage reduction for 4.0 seconds. Again, this is tying into the synergy of Aspect of Disobedience, because since you're a melee class, you are going to be taking a lot of damage, so anytime that you can kind of mitigate damage reduction, you want to do that. Moving on, for my gloves, I put the aspect of Edgemaster. So here it says skills deal up to 10% increased damage based on your available primary resources when cast, perceiving the maximum benefit while you have full primary resources. Moving on from there, for my pants, I basically got something to buff my Fortify, just to give us a little bit more tankiness. So this one basically says up to 35% chance to gain 216 Fortify whenever you deal direct damage while berserking. Here we have Ghost Walker Boneweave Treads. This basically is, again, another aspect. Here it says while unstoppable and for 4 seconds after you gain 10% increased movement speed and can move freely through enemies. So this is kind of important because unstoppable is very, very important. And again, for the Barbarian, just for synergies, just because there's so many things that actually, crowd control you, injure you, especially in World Tier 3. So I recommend that you get this aspect. I'll go over some of the aspects I think are very important after we cover the gear. Okay, for the weapon, here I recommend, for now at least, a mace. And with the imprint of the aspect of Whirlwind, this one in particular says Whirlwind's critical strike chance is increased by 6% for each second it is channeled, up to 18%. I will go over all the aspects after we cover the build, so keep that in mind. Okay, moving forward, I have the rapid aspect here. This basically states basic skills gain 15% attack speed. This is important for lunging strike, because lunging strike generally is a very slow moving attack, so you want to have this in your, sword slot that you have, because the benefit of the Barbarian is it can handle up to 4 weapons. Okay, moving on, this is very important for the build. I cannot stress this enough. You need the aspect of Limitless Rage. This one basically says each point of fury you generate while at maximum fury grants your next core skill 2% increased damage up to 23%. So try to get really good roll on your aspect so that you can actually put this, to good use. Moving on to our weapon, I recommend the axe in this particular slot, and I'll go over why in a little bit. But here, you're going to want the aspect of Dust Devils, which only, to my knowledge so far, drops via weapons and rings. So find yourself a good ring, or find yourself a good weapon, and if it's not the weapon that you want to use, basically extract that aspect and put it on. So, again, what does this aspect do? Whirlwind leaves behind Dust Devils that deal 596% damage to surrounding enemies. Now, as for the rest of the gear, here I would recommend the aspect of the Protector for your necklace, at least for the time being. Basically, it says damaging an elite enemy grants you a barrier absorbing up to 2,331 damage for 10 seconds. This effect can only happen once every 30 seconds. This comes in very handy when you're fighting, bosses and elite packs, because you can get some, nice tankiness out of there and take less hits. And this synergizes significantly well with the aspect of Disobedience, as well as this aspect, as well as the one here in particular for Fortify. Okay, so next up for the rings, this is kind of controversial, and I'll tell you why in a second, because I've play tested with other things. But most people, including myself, are going to recommend that for your ring, get the Bold Chieftain's Band. What does this say? Whenever you cast a shout skill, its cooldown is reduced by 1.1 seconds per nearby enemy, up to a maximum of 6 seconds. The reason why this is important is because after various different patches, they have nerfed the amount of, defensive skills cooldown. So it takes a lot longer to get your defensive skills back, which in this case are going to be your shouts. So this kind of helps mitigate the timer on that and brings it down a little bit. I personally don't find it super significant, but some people have found it super significant. The other one that I'm recommending that you get is the ban of echoing fury. Why is this important? Your shout skills generate free fury per second while active. So these two rings in conjunction work very well together. But let's say, because I've noticed this in my playtesting, that the Bold Chieftain's ban is not working out for you, there is a different aspect that you can get that will work much, much better. So I'm going to show you now in particular aspects that you should be looking out for. It will take a second to just go over. Okay, so one of the aspects that I would recommend if it's not working for you, the ones that are on your rings, is, give me 1 second here to queue it up. It should be, yeah, no, that's not it. Let's see, it should be under resource generation. Here it is, yes. Aspect of Unrelenting Fury. This aspect says killing an enemy or hitting a boss with a core skill refunds 20% of your fury costs, and it can only happen once per skill cast. Some people don't like this. I personally felt it was a little bit better than Bold Chieftain, only because, like, yes, it's only going to get it for that one Whirlwind that you cast, but sometimes that can make the difference when you're fighting a very big pack. So I would recommend that one. Are ones that I guess you should kind of keep an eye out for. Again, rapid aspect is very important for when the sword weapons. Aspect of the Dire Wind, you definitely want on your mallet or your axe. Edge Master's aspect is going to be very important in this build as well. There is another aspect, but it doesn't drop very often. It is not this one. There is one that it just randomly drops, where it pulls in your enemies with Whirlwind. So, moving on here. For particular stats that you want on the gear, me personally, I would recommend on the helm, life on kill, 31 strength, anything that can power up basic attacks, get it. On your particular piece of chest armor, I would recommend anything that can buff up any of your war cries that you can get, anything with plus all stats. Fortify generation is going to be important as well, because you do use a little bit of fortify with this particular build, so if you can get something that is kind of helpful. For the gloves, I highly recommend not this particular glove that I had, but there's other ones that you can get. Get yourself anything with vulnerable damage, critical strike, overpowered damage, anything that can kind of help you there. For the pants, again, anything with all stats, maximum life, life regeneration, barrier regeneration, fortify regeneration, that's what you kind of want to go for. For the boots, anything with dodge chance up, fortify, anything that gives you fury, resource cost reduction, you're going to want as well. For the weapon, this is very, very important. I recommend anything that has core skill damage up, ultimate skill, and bleed damage for one of the weapons. They are weapons because remember, you're using 4, so you have, room to work with. Anything that gives you critical strike damage increase, anything that gives you damage while you're berserking, because this is a berserker bleed build in a way. Anything that can, again, give you vulnerable damage up in particular, you want to rock it with critical strike damage. Again, anything that gives you vulnerable damage up, critical strike damage up, anything that can give you damage to close enemies up, you want to go with that. For the rings, pretty much the same thing as well. Anything that gives you decent resistances while also giving you vulnerable damage, critical strike damage, anything that can regenerate fairy, you want to be able to get those on your rings. As you are leveling up in Diablo 4, it's going to be a big marathon. It's not necessarily a race, so you're going to kind of have to slow and stay wins the race and try to get as many best in gears till eventually you're going to move on to an endgame build, but I'll talk again about the endgame build much further down the road. So I'm going to just show you a quick demonstration as to how it works, and I'm going to be honest with you, until you really get some of the more endgame build type stuff, it is going to be a little bit mediocre, because unfortunately, again, the Barbarian class kind of has it rough in Diablo 4. It is, at the moment, C tier. Now, if you're playing seasonal, there are Malignant Hearts that you're going to use, but because the season is almost over, I'm not going to cover that. I just want to cover this for people who are playing an Eternal Realm, and people who might want a good start for the Season of the Vampire. There are other builds that you can play over this, but, they're not as good either. Okay, so we're going to go lunging straight, because unfortunately you have to build up your generator. So we're going to go here. We're going to go Whirlwind. We're going to cast one of our shouts. Then we're going to cast our Rally Cry. Our Rally Cry will make us unstoppable. And then we're going to spin to win, where we hold in the spin button here. I'm going to show you, again, more demonstrations, because I am going to do at least Okay, so this is your Lunging Strike to build up your Fury. This is your Whirlwind. It takes a while to kill a lot of enemies. So let's go and I'll do like one of the Tree of Whispers so you can get a better kind of handling as exactly what you're working with for this particular build. Apparently the devs said they have fixed this. They have not. Here is one. It looks like we might actually be getting... What is this? Okay, so we're going to attack this elite pack. So we're going to cast one of our war cries. Then we're going to do this, Rallying Cry, and you see how it takes out a lot of threats quickly. This one is where we're going to have to find a body, so that's going to be pretty good. Usually, in my personal opinion, you're going to find the body somewhere down, looped over here. Okay, so build up your resources again, first with your Lunging Strike. Then you're going to cast your War Cry just to lower their defenses. Then you will go Fury Generation here again. As you see, this guy's tanky, so we're going to go Rallying Cry. We're going to go Wrath of the Berserker. We're going to build up some Wrath. Then we're going to continue to spin to win here. And you will kill it. Again, Wrath of the Berserker, build up the Fury, spin. Again, Lunging Strike. I'll show you the rotation here. Give me a second. So War Cry. Just so you do damage reduction. Here, you get more of your Fury back. Here, you're just spinning around. This again, Rally Cry, just so you can be unstoppable. So pretty much your damage rotation is Rally Cry, your War Shout, and then from there, the other one. So you're just casting your shouts to be able to do things. Again, let's go over this way. See if we can find another elite pack. Because ironically, although I say this build is underwhelming, you see, most things are actually going to pop pretty fast. So a Rallying Cry there after we've got one of our War Cries, and you just basically whirlwinding around. When you get another aspect, you can actually pull in various different enemies. There we go. So this is going to be the best test again. Lunging Strike to build up your Fury Regeneration. Then we're going to go, because these are weaker enemies, just basically Whirlwind. We'll build up with Lunging Strike. Let me take this guy out first, just so I can give you full jury or Fury Regeneration. Lunging Strike again. So here we go, Rallying Cry. Your Air War Cry, which is the RB button here. We're going to go Whirlwind. As you see, they die. I'm not going to keep casting it because unlike in Diablo IV, where you can just constantly hold it in, you have to conserve your Fury. Okay, here we go again. Here goes Lunging Strike. Build up the Fury. Whirlwind here. Let's cast this so we can get back more of our Fury Regeneration. Okay, let's go Rallying Cry so we're unstoppable because they are trying to basically status us. Okay, so we're getting close to the big boss. Here he is. Okay, so what do you want to do against this boss? Wrath of the Berserker. Let's use our War Cry. Then from there, you're going to spin. Cast this one to regenerate Fury again. We're pretty much good. Let's go into Unstoppable. This is going to pop. And that's pretty much all there is to your Whirlwind Barbarian. It's really a matter of Fury Regeneration, which is why we have all the aspects that we have. So again, Lunging Strike, then you're going to cast this Shout, which is your Threatening Shout. Then you'll cast this War Cry, and then you're unstoppable, and then you're going to spin, and you're pretty much going to profit. As you go further up into endgame, you're going to have to swap out for very specific uniques that do drop in World Tier 3, but this particular build is the starter build, which is going to help you get from level 1 to 50 and take you to the beginning of World Tier 3. Then when you want to go higher up, it is going to require a tremendous amount of grinding. So keep that in mind. This is why I left this particular guide for last, because it is probably one of the worst classes to play in Diablo 4 at the moment. Hopefully that changes with Diablo 4 Season 2, the Season of Blood. Anyway, that's going to do it for me today. As always, a like on this video is greatly appreciated. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, definitely consider doing so as it helps the channel grow. And I will see you for the next one. Till next time, guys.